Your media lies to you. They are all statist mouthpieces.
Long live the alternative media.
Hello, ladies and gentlemen. This is the Brock Lawley program. My name is Brock Lawley. I'm your fearless host, and this is the segment where we tackle the news headlines, sifting out the leftist lies, like the chaff that it is from the golden wheat of truth. I serve it up to your modern-day ADD reality television show minds on a silver platter. It is a service to humanity, and yes, you are welcome. Ladies and gentlemen, if you thought terror was the big problem, au contraire, that's not the big problem, ladies and gentlemen. Global warming is the big problem. Come on. Don't be anti-scientific. Don't be a denier. It's not ISIS. It's certainly not this fog of subhuman humanity lopping heads across the globe. It's not that. It's not this subsect of human bile that is whipping people with 50 lashes because they have a YouTube video up there of a couple teenagers dancing. That's not the problem, ladies and gentlemen. It's these leftist computer models. It's a leftist fabrication. It's the new creedless church of the secular left with all the trappings of a selfless religion, Algorian clergymen and penance in carbon credits and left-wing money grabs. That, of course, is the problem. And if you don't believe me, visit whitehouse.gov. You should see leftists talk on global warming, just suppose that, against when they talk about terror, when they talk about real threats, when they talk about a fledgling economy. Heck, put side by side their talking points when they're talking against just their political opponents at home that want smaller government and constitutional adherence, and then check that against the tone and the seriousness and the sincerity of speech when referring to real threats in this globe. Again, I ask you to visit whitehouse.gov for the verification. A new study, by the way, says natural wind patterns actually explain, quote-unquote, climate change. Now, even though the scientific evidence comes in this study, the LA Times goes and finds some weird fringe blog to disprove the study that proves that it's not man-made effects on the warming. By the way, this is just climate. There is no systematic warming. There is no studies anywhere whatsoever that says it's warmed in the last 10 years. Wrap your mind around this. So these people 15, 20 years ago were spouting off at the lips all this catastrophe if we don't do this and that. And of course, this and that meant giving more federal power to the state. Jump ahead, none of those things have happened. In fact, none of the model predictions have happened. In fact, there hasn't been any warming, and we still have to hear this crap from these people. It's insufferable, is what it is. Dinesh D'Souza, baby, becomes the very first political prisoner to the new fascistic left in America. Oh, that's a fact. He pays $30K and fines, and he's to live in some halfway house for 8 months. Why? Because he produced a video vetting the sitting president. That's really why. Oh, they claim it's because he gave some money to a political campaign. Wrap your mind around this. The same ideology that is slapping the wrist of Dinesh D'Souza literally got caught. Voter fraud in last election. Democrats voting 6, 7 times in the same election. Black Panthers standing in front of voter precincts. These are the people that tell Dinesh D'Souza that he can't give political campaign money to his friend running for office. By the way, an uphill losing battle in New York City. This, ladies and gentlemen, is political persecution in its most plain and classic sense. What do you think the message is? Don't make a video. Don't make a video calling out leftism. That's the walkaway message. Just shot across the bow and it will work. And it should scare everyone. Sadly, the left is so far gone it doesn't. Schools now forced to scrub Christian books from their library. I tell you every single day that leftism is fascism. And by the way, it's always been fascism. It has always been fascism. Read Mussolini, read Stalin, read Mao, read Marx, read Saul Alinsky. It's always been fascism. Silence. Silence. They've always had a war on God. By the way, they've always had a war on the Judeo-Christian value system. By the way, the educator class in this country, the ivory tower, aristocratic, elitist educating class in this country is growing into one of the most scary there is. And let me tell you again, read history. It is always the academics that spearhead these bloody, horrific revolutions. Look at the French Revolution. That was an academic. Lenin, academic. Look at the Nazi class. Look at the people that sponsored that. Eugenics, academics. You need to fear them because they're untethered from reality. They're godless. And they fear any kind of pushback. You can only be a leftist. I told you this many times. You can only be a leftist in an incubator. You can't have challenge and you can't have a wide range, far-reaching thought pool because leftism ends up looking foolish. You have to propagandize in a biosphere. That's why they're so hostile to other ideas. Again, I tell you, schools forced to scrub Christian books from the library. Fox News reporting that. Unbelievable. I found this story to be entertaining in Time.com. I'm assuming that's Time magazine. A woman whines about how tough it is to be a female in 30. And she blames all those shallow guys who want to date young women in their 30s. It's always blame shifting with these guys. Here's my bet. This chick has a master's degree and she spouts off anti-man feminist propaganda nonstop. And she actually bought hook, line, and sinker this whole genderless world and that there aren't any differences between the genders and somebody's always holding her down. And she spoiled her youth, which is when she should have snagged a man on all this leftist claptrap. Now she's 30, and let's just be honest, she's probably ripening in all the wrong places, and I'm not saying that that's justification, but it is a reality, and we all know it's a reality. And now she's complaining that she can't find some man that wants to fill his ear with feminist, bra-burning claptrap when he gets home. No, here's a little secret. If you're listening to this and you're a woman, here's what a man wants to marry. He wants to marry a feminine wife. You can say anything you want. You can bark off all the leftist war on women crap you want. Men want wives. Men want wives. Period. They don't want your fire-breathing feminazi crap. And if you read this thing, you can bet your life savings that that's who we're dealing with here. Again, Time.com if you want to read that. Listen, a part of me feels sorry. My heart breaks a little bit because I know that leftism has hosed her. Leftism always leaves its victims in discontentment and dissatisfaction because these ideas are not realistic. They're not the real world. And so they don't come to fruition. And when the rubber meets the road, they're always left behind. So she's sort of a victim of like this college crap. She didn't know when to pull the ripcord and escape it. You know, you're supposed to only push the leftist Q-tip until you hit resistance, and then you're supposed to wake up and be an adult. Israel, by the way, catches up with those kidnapper murderers that pretty much spearheaded this whole conflict. And by the way, fortunately, those terrorists resisted, because had they not, we'd probably be forced to hear about how they're victims somehow. They probably would have gotten out of prison in a few short years. So they've been sent to their virgins, so to speak. JPost.com has that piece. Justice is seldom something we see, but it certainly was served in this case. A conservative Brit calls out Obama as a European socialist Democrat. It's an amazing piece, by the way. Breitbart.com has this, and I've been telling you this for a long time. There's no difference, no ideological difference between the open socialists in Europe and the party governing the United States right now. And I mean that, no difference at all. There is no difference. There is no ideological difference. If anything, the radical leftist Democrats of the United States have gotten so far fringy left that they've actually outflanked many of the socialist Democrats, because some of those social Democrats in Europe have fiscal restraints that they're just forced to deal with. And so far, the left in this country have been able to rape and pillage the dollar into an illusionary state of our monetary policy, which, you know, the house of cards were crumbling down. But this is true, ladies and gentlemen, and I've been telling you this, and boy, does he lay this out brilliantly. Again, Breitbart.com has the piece. He basically says Obama is a European socialist. Yes, words mean something. So you quack like a socialist, you walk like a socialist, you spend like a socialist, Your staff writers write your talking points on your teleprompter like a socialist. Guess what, ladies and gentlemen? You're a socialist. Read this piece. It'll floor you. It really will. And this piece scared me, actually. Israel basically having a lot of trouble with their synagogues, both in Israel, in Tel Aviv, and in the United States of America. Apparently, I read this piece with a heavy heart. Apparently, young Jews have chosen the religion, and it is a religion, it's an ideological religion, of leftism over their Judaism. Because, and you're not going to be able to believe this, but the Jews are leaving synagogues because the synagogues are praying for Israel. And of course, they're calling that anti-Palestinian, anti-Arab propaganda. Now, these are Jews, ladies and gentlemen. They've become so untethered from reality. The very ideology that wants to slit their throat for existing. These young American Jews are so indoctrinated with leftism, so detached from reality, that they're cheerleading. They're cheerleading the very people that are hunting them, that are calling them filth and pigs and swine. Leftism is a disease. It's an ideological disease that needs to be fought. And the proof is right here. Jews don't even see their own enemy. They create a fictitious enemy in their head that the left has given them. It's a sad, sad thing. Ladies and gentlemen, that is the news of your day. CourageCulture.net for all the stories. Thank you for listening to the Brock Lawley program.
CourageCulture.net